here because they have broken their ICC title jinx. They have defeated Australia rather comprehensively by a margin of 5 wickets here to win the World Test Championship crown. What a moment to be a South Africa fan, and I'm obviously speaking for all those who have followed the country, followed the team for a long time. It's been a pain. They've really not been able to get past the line or get over the line. They're in several ICC titles, several semi-final finishes. The C word continued to stay with them, the chokers tag basically. But now it has all been put to rest because South Africa have achieved history. They have scripted history here by becoming the World Test champions. They've defeated Australia, and it's all credit to a man who actually led their under-19 team to a title in 2014, and now 11 years later, it is Markram who has once again done the job for South Africa, this time for a senior team, and at the very same time made sure that South Africa have won their maiden senior ICC title. What do you think, Shashwat?
Historic. I think it is a very historic day for the South African cricket team. They have been waiting for this ICC trophy since a very long time. I was listening to Keshav Maharaj last night post that game when he was talking to the host broadcaster. At that moment itself, his eyes had started to tear up. He was already starting to get emotional despite the fact that they were still 69 runs away, but it was the writing was on the wall. It was going to be South Africa who had to win this game because they had the wickets in their hand. A terrific day, a terrific feeling for the whole of South Africa. I think it's going to be the celebrations would have already started. They have been waiting for this since such a long time. 2023 they missed out on a place in the final. 2024 they lost the final itself just by the barest of the margins, and this time heading into this final, which they were most unlikely to win, they have ended up winning that final, and they are going to be a very happy nation tonight. I think you have seen AB de Villiers there, Graham Smith over there. All of these players, they've played for so many years, and for them this trophy means everything because they haven't won it till now. We have seen the best of players play for South Africa, the best of teams play for South Africa, but it was written in for them in their destiny that it was going to be Temba Bavuma and his men who will be lifting the first ever ICC trophy for South Africa at Lord's, and today will be that day.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you come to think of it, it's not even close to being the end of the fourth day here. The first couple of days, or maybe for almost 2.5 days, you felt that it was Australia who were clearly dominating the game, taking about 70 or a 75 run first innings lead, and then it was the late resilience shown by Mitchell Starc that made sure that they got to about 281 run lead here, overall lead that I'm talking about. And one would fancy that Australia would actually get over the line in this kind of a chase, because at Lord's, if you're chasing above 200 or 250, seldom it has happened that a team has been able to successfully chase such kind of a target. And I think it's probably the second or the third time that a target in excess of 250 in a test match at Lord's has been chased. And it's all credit to South Africa, for all the years of pain that they've had. I think it's probably fitting that they not just won the WTC title this time around to break their 27-year jinx, but also, they broke multiple records while playing at Lord's. Sometimes you need such kind of record-breaking performances. And I think if we have to really start, talking about now individually, I think Markram here, first of all, I spoke about him leading South Africa to the Under-19 World Cup title 2014. Almost came close in that T20 World Cup last year against India. He was the captain of South Africa, and now all that agony has turned into joy for Markram here, because he has played a career-defining innings of 136 of 207 balls, 14 boundaries, and overall it has turned out to be not just a match-defining knock, but a career-defining knock for Markram, who in the past couple of years hadn't really, made all the news for those big runs that are usually needed in Test cricket. But now what he has done is that this innings might just take him to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. I know that today, day 4 is what we will, whenever we look back on this Test match, be it 10 years, 20 years down the line, it's going to be today that we'll remember that today South Africa lifted their trophy. But I think the job was done yesterday itself. The way Temba Bavuma and Aiden Markram batted. We saw today, despite just 69 runs remaining, the South Africa still ended up losing 3 wickets. That clearly means that they have that tendency of choking. And after what happened on the 29th of June in Barbados, we know that from any situation they can end up, sort of losing this game. Just imagine another 30-40 runs on the board, and the target would have been somewhere about 100 runs for today. And if they would have ended up losing 3 wickets, the game could have gone in any direction. I think Aiden Markram will be very, very happy. A career-defining knock for him. According to me, this would be something that, just leaves a mark for him in world cricket. People will now start to realize how good a player Aiden Markram is in that sense. He's been great with Test cricket, but it was just about arriving at the biggest stage. And I think with this knock, what he's done, he has definitely showed it. He wasn't coming in this final with the best of the forms. He was sent up the order, and now this knock has definitely made sure that they end up winning this game. I think what Bavuma and Aiden Markram did yesterday, I think that was what the South African team needed. Otherwise, you'd never know. Such a big chase, it could have gone anywhere. Nobody else in this batting order has gotten runs. Bavuma being the one who scored in the first innings, in the second innings, 30 odd in the first, and now another 50 plus knock in that sense. So a terrific day for South Africa, especially at a point where South African cricket in a way was declining with quite a high speed in that sense. Popularity of cricket over there was going down, but I think what this win will do for them is just unite the country once again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is where all those doubts regarding South Africa as a test nation have also been put to rest. Yes, there can still be an argument about the fact that South Africa played lesser number of test matches in comparison to the likes of Big Three, India, Australia and England. But then, this is one loophole that obviously ICC will have to address. This is something that we have obviously discussed in our previous dugouts also. But I think for them to, make sure, bring such kind of a talent that they had, David Bedingham is there, Kyle Verreynne is there. Obviously, in the bowling attack, you have the likes of Marco Jansen, Kagiso Rabada has been there for round about a decade now. For them to, I think, stick to the core actually speaks volumes of the consistency that this South African team has. This is actually as much a team of Temba Bavuma as it is of someone like a Dean Elgar, who was the previous captain of South Africa, who actually retired after the India series last year itself. So overall, if you see, this is a team that is pretty much built for the future. Almost everyone, is in their early 30s or maybe in the early 20s for that matter. The team is shaping up well, looks good to be consistent for the next WTC cycle. But then, we talked about Aiden Markram here, who was obviously a match winner here, played a career-defining innings. One more man, as Shashwat also pointed, is Temba Bavuma. He was pretty much batting on one leg, battling a hamstring injury. And if there's one story that you guys might not know, that at one stage, South African management thought of taking Temba Bavuma off the field in the second innings. But then it was Aiden Markram who actually insisted that he should stay with him. They should both bat together and make sure that they forge some kind of a partnership. So obviously with the injury that Bavuma had, one thing was sure, that the singles doubles would be restricted, and that's what Aiden Markram was comfortable with. But the kind of insistence that he had, the way he was very hell-bent on the fact that no, Bavuma has to bat with me, he has to be there, I think that in a way shows some kind of leadership on the part of Markram and also for Bavuma, who actually batted like a lion.
Definitely. I think, like I mentioned, that a batting order, apart from Aiden Markram, Temba Bavuma and Tristan Stubbs to an extent, who has had an underwhelming final, nobody else really inspires that confidence. I know Bedingham has been the best batters for South Africa in this WTC cycle, but when it comes down to the big day and when it comes down to winning a knock in the fourth innings, you needed these men who have that experience, who have played on such big occasions in the past as well. You need them to step up, and that's exactly what they have done. This was a most unlikely format for the South Africa to go and win in as far as ICC tournament is concerned. I remember at the beginning of this cycle, they sent a team overseas for a 2 test match series and did not send the main players because they wanted to keep them available
The
for
New Zealand
SC20.
series, yeah.
And they mentioned that they really don't care about the 2 points that about the points that they might lose out on the WTC final. Just see how funny things can actually get, because now down the line, just a couple of years after what happened at that point of time, it's the same tournament and it's the same people who have gone on and lifted that trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's turned out to be a great thing for South African fans here, because they have been rooting for their team for a long time, and to come close and not really win that ICC trophy, it's obviously disheartening. I remember, one of the cricket experts maybe saying this thing about 6 to 8 months back, I think after South Africa lost to India in that T20 World Cup final, that there will come a time when South Africa will win an ICC title, and it's going to happen within a year. And pretty much it has happened, if you look at it from a prediction perspective. But I think talking about South Africa, as we are obviously singing praises for them, it's the bowling that basically set up the thing for them. I think on both occasions, and specifically the both innings, the bowling lacked some kind of potency, but then it was Kagiso Rabada who stepped up as and when it was needed. Lungi Ngidi, who was terrible in the first innings, he turned out to be a terrific performer in the second innings for them, taking those crucial wickets, taking I think the wicket of Steve Smith also. So overall, a good thing for South Africa that they clicked as a unit. Even Ngidi's decision, which was criticized, that turned out to be a good thing. But you go back to 1999 World Cup, Australia, South Africa. Steve Waugh famously told Herschel Gibbs that you just dropped the World Cup after he dropped him. And in this particular match also, over number 19th, second ball, Steve Smith drops Temba Bavuma. Fair to say that he dropped the WTC title.
He definitely did. We still saw that with South Africa, until the time you actually don't cross that line once and for all, you still do have that jitters. We have seen that with the Indian team on so many occasions now, and I think it's fair to say that that's exactly what has been happening with the South African team as well. We saw it very clearly on the 29th of June during the T20 World Cup, and it would have been the very similar situation today as well if the bulk run scoring wasn't done yesterday itself by Bavuma and Maiden Markram, because we saw the conditions change a little bit today. It was a little more tougher to bat on. The ball was swinging, the ball was staying low, there was uneven bounce. So today I'm assuming just if 30-40 more runs would have been there on the board, situation would have been absolutely different, because they already lost 3 wickets today itself with just 69 remaining. Another 30-40 runs, if that intent wasn't shown by the 2 experienced batters yesterday, today the result could have been very different.
Yeah, true. And I think that Smith drop did prove to be costly, because it came at a time when South Africa had already lost a couple of wickets, and at 76 for 2 they could have been 76 for 3, but then it turned out to be a great partnership between Bavuma and Markram, pretty much a match-winning partnership here. And also maybe, a word on Kagiso Rabada. I think the kind of tough times that he has had in the past. He was playing for Gujarat Titans in the IPL, but then he was found that he used a banned substance. Then he suffered a ban.
Tonight he can.
Huh?
Tonight he can use.
No, but
everything.
That's a different discussion that we should be having. I don't know whether that even merits a point here. But Rabada, I think with all the tough times that he has had, I think him stepping up turned out to be a crucial thing.
It's just a fairy tale story. I feel that it's just the people who you needed to step up, the experienced campaigners, be it the 2 batters or Rabada in that sense. They have really stepped up. Australia, I think we've talked as far as South Africa is concerned, it's going to be a historic day, a day they'll remember for many years to come.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are pointing out that this is not their first ICC trophy, but the last time they won, that was the ICC Knockout Cup, if I'm not wrong.
1998, yeah.
And then
Champions Trophy. trophy.
Was it really a knockout cup? It wasn't even called the Champions Trophy. So in that sense, would you call it a proper ICC event in that sense or not?
That's why this is the first senior ICC title.
Senior ICC title that they have won. So in that sense, it's absolutely terrific. They're going to celebrate till long in the night. I think they played a couple of games over here, heading into this the final as well, where they played a couple of practice games in Birmingham as well, if I'm not wrong, heading into this final.
It was a 4-day practice game that they had against Zimbabwe.
And they also called in their squad members from the IPL in between as well, whereas with Australia,
Stuart Broad also, who was their assistant bowling consultant, before the WTC final year, and his quote that actually did the rounds here, that don't look at the pitch, look at the clouds. And maybe the decision to bowl first early on, I think now in hindsight you might just say it was good. But where did Australia, apart from the drop catch that they had, where
I was just getting to that only. I feel that drop catch, definitely execution of plans wasn't there at all. I heard the comms also talk about the fact, we talked about this last night as well, that they're not utilizing all their plans. No short balls, just bowling negative lines. Yesterday's trying to stop the run flow, and runs weren't those many that you could have won the game by stopping the run flow. You needed those wickets. You should have gone in with a much more attacking field, where you had that liberty of those runs. You had picked 2 early wickets for 30 odd itself. You should have put on the pressure at that point of time. They weren't able to do it. It's very unlike Australia, very unlike Pat Cummins' captaincy. But I'd also say a little bit in that sense, now that we look at it in hindsight, it may be a little bit lack of preparation, because with England or with with South Africa, we saw them call all the senior all the members of the squad back from the Indian Premier League, so heading into for the preparation, whereas for Australia that wasn't the case. They let their players play the IPL, the players who were part of the playoffs as well, in particular Hazelwood, who played the final as well, went on to win that, and then he arrived in England. So I don't know if that backfired or not, but as a whole, I think their intent and the way they approach cricket, again, South Africa gave a lot of chances to Australia to make the most of them and go on and win their second ICC championship in a row now. But Australia, very unlike themselves, weren't able to do it. But I think this is the best result possible for cricket in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for Australia, one thing where I feel, they probably went wrong, I think it's the selection part. Marnus, any which ways, wasn't really in great form, so to promote him in such tricky conditions to open alongside Khwaja, I think that was, to me, a blunder. You talk about Usman Khwaja, he had also been in inconsistent form in the BGT. He was consistently bumrah'd, in his own words, but in Sri Lanka he got those runs, and now once again showing that he was pretty much struggling against the moving ball. Smith, played really well in both the innings there, but then, couldn't really get a big score. Webster was the one who showed some kind of resilience, but overall, I think it turned out to be a poor batting performance by Australia. You really needed a Mitchell Starc to wag the tail.
Bowling as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think overall, maybe a decision to have someone like a Josh Inglis, could have worked wonders, because see, he could have been a makeshift opener. In case of Marnus, he wasn't in form, but in case of Josh Inglis, he had some runs under his belt when he made his test debut in Sri Lanka earlier in January. So that decision could have
played Cameron Green at top of the order if they wanted to go with these batters. But anyway, it's going to be a good day for the South African.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this team is going to be etched in the history books. And before we take your comments, I think just one thing about Australia. They still, have the team that can beat anyone on a particular day, or can even, get the better of the likes of England and India, who are obviously known to be a part of the big three. But I think this is going to be a big blow for Pat Cummins, for that matter. I think for the very first time in his captaincy career, he looked out of sorts. That hasn't really happened much at all. So let's see how he really bounces back, because Australia don't really have much of a time to have a turnaround. They're going to tour West Indies for a series that's going to be a part of the new WTC cycle. So let's see what happens. Now let's take a few comments here. Danush is saying it's second ICC trophy, not first. See, it is a second ICC trophy. The first they won was the ICC Knockout Cup, but this is their first senior ICC title. So that is the pretty much description, that we have for you. Parth has a comment here that these lot were calling Test cricket the real format, but only 2 people for WTC. Okay, that's a different thing, obviously. Let's comment. I think he was basically praising South Africa's performance. Freaking Awesome is saying this is the 4th time Australia lost in the final. They had lost in the finals of 1975 and 1996, and in the 2010 T20 World Cup, a first final loss for Australia in 15 years. GGK is saying 2023 WTC final loss revenge completed. Yeah, I'm not sure, whether that's a revenge for that, but definitely a revenge for what happened in 2023 in the ODI World Cup semi-final when Australia defeated South Africa. Different formats, but still a revenge here. Dr. Dave Walker has a comment that the streak of Josh Hazelwood is gone, and that's why he's saying, he's an RCB fan. Okay. Manu John is saying what an epic history-making moment for South Africa. That it is, obviously. Dr. Dave Walker also has another comment here that also South Africa played teams like West Indies, Sri Lanka and Pakistan. See, this is something that we have discussed at length now. At some point, you will have to play the teams that are lesser ranked than you, who may not be as strong as you, and that's going to happen with India, England and Australia also. But the point here is what the ICC needs to address is that they need to set a criteria for qualification into the WTC final, that a team has to play minimum number of, say, about 15 odd matches so that they can be eligible for qualification for the final. And this is where things are lacking. You talk about New Zealand, they reached the inaugural final when they had played about 10-12 matches. Same is the case with South Africa. So if you want the competition to remain balanced, better to have a qualification criteria so that, in terms of competition, things could be even more better. You wouldn't really feel like, I played 18 to 19 matches, it's unfair. So that would not be the case with any of the teams. Dr. Dave Walker has another comment that Themba is 35. After he's gone, the batting lineup may not be that strong. Yeah, let's see what happens. But still, they have many, they still have, many players who are a part of this lineup. They're still about in their early 30s. There's Tristan Stubbs, who is pretty much in his early 20s. You also have Ryan Rickelton, who is doing well in whatever chances he has got. Kyle Viraini has done well. Marco Janssen is still pretty young. Kagiso Rabada is about 30. Lungi Ngidi has also been in and around. So yeah, that's an important thing here. Kiran Khatri, once again, the important thing, it's a senior ICC title. So first senior ICC title for South Africa. That's what we have mentioned also. Priyanshu has a comment, and I think that's going to be it for us after this. Tough times are near for Australia. Their pace trio is aging. Likes of Khwaja and Smith might retire after the Ashes. Their bench strength is nowhere close to these players. Absolutely. I think in case of Khwaja, his poor run might not might obviously be taken into consideration. You would not really want to persist with him for far too long. But then Sam Constas is also pretty much young, and Josh Inglis is still making a name for himself in Test cricket. So I think Khwaja might just be there until the Ashes. But if he doesn't do well until that time, I think then it's going to be curtains on his career. For Smith, I think he still has a couple of years. He's obviously retired from the ODI format, so he can still focus more on the long format here. So let's see how things go. But what I feel here is that Smith still has some more time left. So yeah, I think that's about it. Shashwat, perfect. Thank you so much for joining us for the coverage of the WTC final. Do give us a like if you enjoyed our discussions, and don't forget to subscribe to Sports Today for all the exciting updates and analysis from the sporting world. One final comment, what GGK is saying. Thank you guys, great analysis from the last 3 days for the test final. Thank you so much, GGK. It's an important thing for us. We take all these things very well. So thank you so much, and stay tuned to Sports Today for all the exciting updates and analysis from the sporting world.